thing, but in some cases it makes a big difference and it makes convenience. So it's one of those things. It's your age kind of translates into how much you're into it. Not all the time, but most of the time, I'd say.
Okay. So in terms of assistance for getting around, what assistance do you need? Do you rely on? Do you have a guide dog, or do you have a stick, or how does that work? Or is it am I referring to stuff that's too arcane these days, really?
No, I have got a white cane. Haven't used it. It's annoying because I actually, in order to get a guide dog, which I want so bad, you have to do the white cane training.
Okay.
And I was just getting into it because I just kind of lost track with it over the past couple of years. I was just getting into it like January, February time, and then obviously that thing decided to pop up out of nowhere and ruin everyone's lives. So it just completely brought it to a halt because the white cane training involves like an instructor type person coming to your house and doing routes from your address to different locations. And I was proper getting into it, and thought, come on, if I do this, give it 6 months, and I can start the ball rolling with a guide dog. But like I said, the virus happened, and but in terms of, I don't use my cane much going out and about. It's I should do, but I just tend to rely on people now, like my family or my friends, and luckily I've got a close family now. I've got a small friendship group that know my needs and how they know how to kind of navigate me through streets and buildings and in wherever. So I'm probably from people I've spoke to who are also blind, I'm probably one of your more unique kind of, my lifestyles are a bit more unique compared to some. I'm just a 20-year-old lad who goes out on a piss and goes to the football. That's me.
Well, I'm pretty sure I was like that at your age as well. So.
Yeah, exactly.
So obviously, I mean, you said that earlier in the piece, you said that Coventry is your local area, your local town.
Yeah.
And so, but you're a Spurs fan. So, when did you start supporting Spurs, and how did that come about?
Well, I haven't really got any links to Spurs in terms of family members and that. I think it was just one of those things because I kind of, for like the first half of the 2010s, I kind of lost interest in football. And then say 2015, 16, let's say late 2015, I got back into it. And then when I think it was a season where Leicester won the Premier League.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think with Spurs, it's just one of those things where the Spurs just caught my eye. I think, and you had the young Harry Kane, you had Dele Alli, and you had obviously Maurizio Pochettino. And I think throughout that season, they just seemed to be the team that I just enjoyed watching and supporting. And there were a lot of young English players. So just one of those things, really. I'm not a one to, as you can tell, I'm a Spurs fan, so I'm not one to attract trophies. So I'm not immediately sticking to Man United.
I hope you're patient.
Exactly. So I'm not one to go to your Man Uniteds and your Chelseas and Arsenal. Even before I got a love for Spurs, I just disliked Arsenal. So that made it a bit easier. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's just you kind of just fall into it, I think. And yeah, I think I made the right choice. I mean,
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, if you're happy with a lifetime of disappointment with the odd with the odd up, then you've chosen the right team.
That's my local team. My local team, Coventry City. They're doing good now, but prior 2017, they were just if you wanted constant misery, you supported Coventry City. So I'm kind of used to the disappointment. So yeah.
So, I mean, do you get to many Spurs games?
Yeah, I think I've only because I've in terms of going back to the technology thing, the thing that I just have a generic iPhone and there's something called VoiceOver, but I only found out about that until late 2018. No one had ever mentioned it ever, and it's been around for 10 years, which I find quite mad. And so I got on that, and it took me a while to get used to it, and that's when I've obviously come across Twitter. And then in mid 2019, I made an account and thought, just to see what it's about. Just put a tweet out there saying, would any Spurs fans be happy to help me and maybe take me to a game and just allow me to experience it. And it was a mad bonkers response really. My phone went for about 4 or 5 hours. My phone went mental. It was like over 2,000 likes and almost 200 replies, and it was a bit mad.
Yeah.
So because of that was nearly a year ago now, I think. So because of that, my first game, I never got to go to the original White Hart Lane, unfortunately. Okay. But my first game was Tottenham Newcastle back in August, which wasn't an exciting one at all. So
yeah, I missed that one actually. But yeah, that was the one where we dominated possession, right, and lost 1-0.
That's it, yeah. And that Joel Linton had scored one of his 2 goals.
Yeah.
So it was like I'm never going to be invited to a Spurs game ever again. That was my first one, but it was a good experience as a whole. I got the train down by myself and met someone called Alex, who I still speak to now. He met me there, and then I remember it was a bank holiday Sunday as well, and it was roasting. And bank holiday Sunday, half the trains on the underground and overground were on hold. So it was a sweaty journey there. But in terms of the experience, I think it was definitely all worth it. And then since then, I've been to 4 more this season. I got to the Crystal Palace home one, which was a bit better than the 1-0 loss. We won 4-0 with that. What was soon after? I got to actually, because of that tweet that I put out about last August, I actually had an offer from an Everton fan who was a season ticket holder at Everton, and he offered his second season ticket to me to sit in the home end, but it was against Spurs back in, I think, in November. So that was another one, and then I've been to Norwich at home and then Villa away. So I'm quite proud of myself. I've got to a decent bunch.
Yeah, you've done more away games than I've managed to do in the last couple of years. So you're doing better than me.
That was a good one as well. I remember, you probably remember it was scored a last minute goal, didn't we, to win 3-2, and that was absolute pandemonium in the away end. So yeah, that was probably my highlight, I think, in terms of actual game itself. But yeah, it's been pretty decent.
So, a match day experience for you, in terms, obviously, not being able to actually see what's happening. How does that work out for you? Do you? I'm pretty sure Spurs have like a descriptive service, or a commentary service that is provided. Do you make the most? Do you use that?
I actually tried that my first one to the Newcastle game. And I think with something like that, I've got problems with my hearing as well. I wear a hearing aid, so my hearing it's decent, but it's not. Yeah. It could be a lot better. And yeah, I tried the audio commentary thing, and I think in that environment with 65,000 people, the general crowd drowns out the noise of the actual headphones for me. So in the past, when I go to my local teams games and the Spurs games since, I've been looking after the people I've gone with have been happy to give me like small descriptions of what's going on the pitch, significant moments. And I'm a singer anyway, so even if you are describing it to me, I'll probably just interrupt you halfway through and start singing. so it's one of those.
That's fantastic. Well, like when you say you're a singer, you're a proper singer, or are you just like me that I like to sing to myself, and I'll be walking down the street and I'll be singing. So that's my kind of singing, but like,
Yeah,
it's not any
I'm
singing
a
that anyone would want to really hear.
I'm a full blown, full on, whatever you want to call it, singer. I'll bout anything out, just to the point where I'm losing my voice. That's what I'm like, especially if it's a good game.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so yeah, so I mean, it's interesting stuff. So in terms of like, obviously there's things I was going to ask you about, like accessibility, but yeah, I guess you just sit in the general
Yeah,
seating with whoever
yeah.
whoever you go along with, and the concourses. How have there been any sort of, certainly given that you've been to away games as well,
Mm.
have there been any kind of away games like at half time or whatever when you're at the concourses and you feel like it's there's not enough space, or it's really awkward because it's just it just doesn't, you just can't get around, even with people trying to help you navigate, that it's it's
Um,
problematic.
I don't know. I think it wasn't the Villa one. I just stayed in my seat. I didn't bother going down. And the Spurs concourse, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. I mean, it was busy.
Mm.
But yeah, it wasn't. I don't think I've ever had an experience like that where I've been like uncomfortable in a football stadium. I'm probably quite a difficult person to annoy, especially when I think you kind of have to acknowledge the surroundings. You're in a football ground. You're going to be with thousands of people. Most of them are drunk, so they're going to be barging into you. So I think you kind of have to acknowledge, and take and just, just think, yeah, if they bump into you, they're not because they want to start a fight with you or something. It's just them. So yeah, I've never had a bad experience once. I know the Spurs, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium actually has like a special kind of bit for disabled fans.
Yeah.
Probably more so for the physically, people in wheelchairs and that. But for me, like I said earlier, in terms of singing, I just want to be amongst. I live off the atmosphere, so I want to be as immersed in the atmosphere and the crowd as possible.
So like in terms of when you've been like to Tottenham Stadium, where have you been sat in? Because in terms of atmosphere, I'm sat in the Paxton. And we have our moments, but sometimes it I go home and I'm really like, fuck's sake, like it's been dead. Like no one sang a word. It's been quiet as anything, and it's just like so.
Yeah.
Where have you managed to get to?
I think I've actually, how many? I've been to what? One, two. I think I've pretty much sat in every stand, every stand apart from the one that the away fans sit in.
Yeah.
First game was in the South Stand, in Newcastle. That was okay. I think I was just literally because the game was a bit dire. And then the Crystal Palace, I was in the East Stand, up in the gods, quite high up. And then the Norwich, I was in the opposite stand. I'm rubbish with stand names.
West Stand, so.
Yeah, west stand near the away fans that way.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I think I've had experiences from all corners really, and I think the best was probably be, I'd say the East stand, maybe because of the game, and then slowly followed by the West. But I think it's literally obviously all comes down to what's going on in the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Okay, so before we wrap up our fans in focus element, for every fans in focus that we have on, we have 3 quick fire questions, okay, that you have to answer. So it's just very quick, and you give us your answer, and then we move on. Yep. All right. So Daniel Levy calls you. You have 15 seconds to give him advice. What would that advice be?
Spend some money. There we go.
Okay. Happy with that. Okay, good stuff. The next question then. So if you could choose a current or an ex-player to have a pint with, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a difficult one. That is.